those things that are meant to make victims of crime feel safe. How can you reassure people tonight that are affected by this about the system and how it works to protect them?
Notwithstanding the difficulties we've been discussing and the concerns that Elizabeth and other victims feel, probation never gets the credit for the thousands of lives that we do protect on a daily basis, with our members working massively long hours under pressure, trying to cope with workloads through the roof. So we do positive work. And this is why we need a review of the probation service, because we do a lot of good things, but we could do more. We could do more with the right political support. And, you'll hear every trade union leader say we need more money to do the things we want. Well, I'm no exception, but I know for a fact how good the probation service is at preventing reoffending, given the help it needs, how good it is at seriously protecting people. But we need time, we need space, and we need politicians to act and act now.
Chair, conference, thank you. The reason I come to this rostrum is not because of the dodgy microphones earlier on, but I actually wanted to come here to convey my sense of solidarity with all of you and to say the leadership of this union, myself, the officer group, the officials, the staff we employ, feel your pain. We don't have to suffer it every day like you do, but we feel your pain, we feel your anger. And I wanted to see you eye to eye so I can share my thoughts about that. So good afternoon. That was just one example of the many engagements we've been involved in recently around SDS 40. So if it's your first conference, I was enthused to see how many people have turned up for the first time. I hope it's not your last and you'll come back for many more in the future. I have my own version of lived experience, not in the way you understand it, but this is my 16th Napo AGM on the spin, and it's bar 1 year where I had to miss it, my 46th consecutive union conference. So I clearly keep coming back for more. Guests today, we give a warm welcome to Mark Fairhurst, the chair of the POA, my friend Sarah Woolley as well. You hear more from Sarah tomorrow and you're in for a treat. She is the president of GFTU. She's also one of the new generation of young female general secretaries who've broken through the barrier, and her influence on the movement is quite remarkable. And her work with young members from unions and our young members has been outstanding. So welcome, Sarah. And of course, as you heard yesterday, there are a number of the Napo family who are no longer with us. And while in no way disrespecting of any of those other dear members whom we've lost in the last year since Nottingham, it won't be quite the same this year without those inveterate campaigners and activists such as Jeremy Cameron, Mike Guilfoyle and Chris Hignett. We applaud them and their work in maintaining the life and fabric of this great union. We've lost another comrade quite recently with the tragic news of the passing of Joe Simpson, Deputy General Secretary of the POA. We've written, of course, to the POA and Joe's family to send our condolences. Joe was a great friend to Napo, spoke at conferences. Many of you will have met him. No nonsense Mackem from this part of the world that said it like it is. So the best way to honour all of our comrades is to continue building on the legacy that they were proudly a part of for so long. It's a legacy that started in Croydon Town Hall in South London on the 22nd of May 1912. Now, before you ask, I wasn't around for that gig, but I'm told it is really something. It's a union who continues to be the go-to place when politicians and the media want to know about the vital work undertaken by yourselves in Probation England and Wales, Probation Northern Ireland and CAFCAS. More proof if it were needed. It's not the size of the dog in the fight that's the most important factor, but the fight in the dog. And I'm proud that I'm still in a position to continue extending Napo's visibility and influence through the TUC and GFTU. Well, yesterday's decisions you made around the probation pay and workload crisis were a watershed point, I believe, in our campaign. And we're into our own dogfight now, make no mistake. So let me tell you straight away what we will be doing in response. We will be writing to the Lord Chancellor to say, give us some money, please, and give us it now. We can't wait any longer. We'll be calling the Industrial Action Subcommittee to convene in short order. We'll be talking to our sister unions, Unison and GMB. And if when we move to that ballot that you've demanded, then we will run that as professionally as possible. But running a ballot is one thing. Winning it with a convincing majority is another. So make no mistake at all. If that's the road we're going down, you need to help us win this ballot. You need to get that turnout in the high 90%. No ifs, no buts, no room for errors. This won't be an indicative ballot, or we can look at it and think, well, maybe. This is the real deal, people. So if you want it, let's get it on. Remember also at Napo as a union that all too many outside commentators were willing to write off in those dark days just over a decade ago, when our own internal discord was quickly followed by a visitation from our very own resident demon in the form of Chris Grayling, now Lord Grayling. Should that be Count Grayling? I think that'd be more appropriate. Unfortunately, even when you do carry motion 26, the wretched man won't simply crawl back into his genie bottle. Sorry. And a warning to his fellow lordships, watch out. He's the sort of guy that will sell your fancy ermine rugs from right under your collective noses. You can't fathom it, but there we are. Well, look, we survived this horror show of transforming rehabilitation, despite the naysayers, those who said we were done after judicial review, that we should merge with another union. But we pulled ourselves up off the floor. That's what we did. That's what you did. When we started one of the most remarkable campaigns in trade union history to defeat a flagship Tory privatisation policy. No other union has done that. Bigger unions than us haven't done that. And you helped to get probation back to where it belongs under public ownership. But that journey is nowhere near over, I get it. And I've listened very carefully to what we're being told. So nothing will happen unless we get the investment we need, a strategic change in thinking around sentencing policy, prison reform, and modernisation of our justice and family court systems. In the probation world, the last government and this one have needed probation more than ever, as our members have heroically faced the massive challenges of SDS 40, and before that, the even more flawed ECSL, early release of prisoners scheme. But to politicians and other commentators, hear this and hear it loud. You simply can't build your way out of a prison capacity crisis. And politicians of all parties should come clean with the taxpaying public, get off their populist high horse that we just need more prisons, bigger prisons, and longer sentences to defeat recidivism. It hasn't worked before, it won't work now. So wise up and listen to the experts, that's you, before you make your next announcement. So our clarion call to this government is that there is another path. By changing the focus on crime and punishment in a way that not only provides justice to the people of Britain, but to a system where, if people have to visit prison, it should not become a place where they return to time after time after time again. It makes no discernible difference to their lives and makes them worse. And there's a massive continuing negative impact on wider society. You know all of this. And you also know what needs to change in order to put that straight. £600 million, according to Martin Jones, on recall alone? Well, what could you do with that in terms of rehabilitation? You heard from Lord Ponsonby this morning, delighted to hear the first Labour Minister of State to address a Napo AGM for 15 years. That was something. We look forward to working with you, Fred. We can call him Fred, we're mates, okay? In the hope that we'll see radical action to redress the shambles presided over by the previous government, and that you'll be part of an agenda in partnership with us for lasting change. Well, the Tory government that has plagued the criminal and family justice system and the nation for 14 years has gone. Now, I'm not going to waste much valuable conference time poring over the carcass of that hideous beast and their dreadful economic record. But let's all applaud the fact that we can wave goodbye at long last to a host of useless wasters who are no longer in government, such as Boris Johnson, everyone's favourite pantomime villain, gone. Liz Truss, gone. Penny Mordaunt, John. Grant Shapps, John. The list is endless, but I won't waste time. But among others, we can surely shed no tears for that much beloved minister for the 18th century, Jacob Rees-Mogg. Gone. I have to say the annual Tory election circus is surely the longest running production since The Mousetrap, but it's nowhere near as entertaining. We now know it's to be a contest between Robert Jenrick and Kemi Badenoch in a race to catch the coattails of the Reform Party. Watch this space. It's a great choice for Tory members, isn't it? I mean, you've got one of them, Jenrick, who wants to attack migrants, and the other one, Badenoch, who wants to attack Doctor Who. So much for them. Well, what about the government who now calls the shots? And you'll know this, that my role as General Secretary is to call out politicians, whoever they are, whoever they represent, when I try to protect and promote your interests. And have no fear, I fully intend to continue that as long as I've got an ounce of breath in my body. Because in case you hadn't noticed or have been hiding away under some large rock, it's not been the most auspicious of starts for this new administration, has it? The cuts to the winter fuel allowance and its impact on some of the poorest in our society has been a spectacular own goal. Because even if there was some perverse justification for it, it's landed badly for significant numbers of voters of all generations. 174-seat majority ought to mean at least 3 terms in office for a Labour government, but you can never be sure of anything in politics. And that means they must learn quickly from their mistakes. Maybe, though, it's about learning lessons from the past. 79 years ago, Clement Attlee's Labour government was declared winner of the post-war election. He became leader of a blitzed out and war-fatigued nation, the biggest national debt in its entire history. Around that time, more than 237 of gross domestic product percent of GDP. Attlee's government rapidly reconstructed and restructured the UK economy to avoid a post-war crisis. They founded the NHS. What must the people who founded that think now of it? Improved pensions, introduced legal aid, nationalised core industries, improved workers' rights, and built hundreds of thousands of decent houses a year. Some lessons for now, I think. And this incredible government, which sadly never lasted, is that their progressive agenda actually resulted in a huge drop in the national debt. So, Chancellor, if you really needed £1.5 billion towards balancing the books, why didn't you revisit the pledge made by Ernest Bevin of that same government and legislate to unearth the huge sums in offshore tax havens, which even at that time saw big corporations squirrel away millions upon millions in unpaid tax? Now, of course, we're talking billions in those sorts of institutions. And let's not forget the so-called hidden economy in the UK, where it's still all too easy for people with the know-how to evade paying their fair share of income. Many companies and wealthy individuals have done the same, whilst handing over money to the Conservatives. It's also about time the real scandal of misappropriation of public funds for dodgy PPE contracts during the pandemic was finally brought to light, and I know there's work going on. Unfortunately, if you worry around Taylor Swift tickets and seats at Arsenal FC, Arsenal, please, are a bit of a welcome distraction for some. You'll have your own views about the merits or otherwise of politicians accepting donations and gifts, and the wisdom of poking your tongue out at the government when you're not yet in government and getting it thrown back at you. But as far as I know, the Labour Party has not accepted money from Frank Hester. Who he? Well, you must remember, before the election, he publicly stated he wished he could shoot Diane Abbott before handing over 10 million to the Tory general election war chest. How disgusting does it get? And what's more disgusting, the party of principle, as they proclaim themselves these days, the Tories, or what's left of them, didn't actually return that money. Says a lot about them, doesn't it? Yesterday, we saw the much-awaited publication of the Employment Bill, where we hope to see new initiatives to create secure jobs with the right to trade union membership and collective bargaining enshrined in law. Well, look, I'm sure we welcome the prospect of a new deal for workers. But what's also needed are new and bold ideas to eradicate poverty and deprivation, tackle systemic inequality in our society, and fresh initiatives around the provision of decent education for all, along with a properly managed and transparent system to assist those fleeing oppression and who want to offer something to British society. It's a bit of a cliche by now, you've probably heard it already. The real enemies of this country don't tend to cross the channel in rubber boats. They fly in by private jets and helicopters. They send the profits of their business activities to offshore hedge funds. They sack workers by text, as in P&O, and replace them with exploited labour from abroad. Who's the enemy now? And in a society so riven by naked hatred, which itself is being exacerbated by the 20 regional conflicts around the planet, including the horrors of Ukraine and the Middle East. We still see violence against women and young girls in this nation, manifesting itself at an unacceptable average of 2 women a week killed by men. It hasn't got any better since we last spoke about this several years ago. And it's about time society recognised misogyny is a man's problem. It won't be eradicated unless and until men show the collective courage to simply say no more and no way. And by the way, Carol, we'll be coming back to the government around the issue of the deconstruction of the sex offender intervention units. Trust me, this one ain't over yet. But at the same time, we have a duty to help our kids and grandkids to reject sexism and misogyny. As that statistic I just mentioned is a disgraceful blight in a so-called civilized society. And it's frightening, truly, to speak with some young men, including those in my family, who were led to believe that people such as the obnoxious Tate brothers, you must know about them, were a role model for them, and that their repugnant attitudes are typical of the way in which they should engage with women. It is scary. It's just as scary as the rise of the far right, and the two are often interlinked. Well, let me put it to you. You wouldn't allow a known terrorist to cross in and out of the UK's borders. So why is it any different for the Tate brothers and the Tommy Robinsons of this world? And we see how the political allies within the leadership of the Reform Party attempt to hijack the well-established principles of community, family, and country. Did it not make you sick to see that the other week? Because they've been the cornerstones of the trade union movement ever since it was founded. You don't hear Farage talking about the sacrifices made by trade unionists across 2 world wars when he talks about country, community, and family. And we now have Johnny-come-latelys like Farage, Lee Henderson, and Zia Youssef. Zia, really? What train are you on, mate? Espousing a racist agenda and hijacking those principles for their own hideously warped and self-aggrandizing agenda. And those enemies used to work in GB News. You know this. Some months back, I received an invitation from Mr. Farage to discuss the early release of prisoner scheme. But as you'd expect, I told his producer I was kind of busy. Because I don't waste members' time in engaging with GB News anymore anyway. We put a ban on those, given their disgraceful track record of misogyny. But the idea of spending time with someone who has earned a decent wage fomenting such division and hatred for a living is frankly quite nauseating. So no truck with him or his acolytes. Some politicians and commentators bear a huge responsibility for their role in the disgraceful and sinister scenes we've seen of late. So I want to talk about Napo now. For us, it's about pressurising this government to prioritise our criminal justice and family court system after 14 years of terrible neglect. Our agenda includes, but is not exclusively about this, building on the excellent progress in probation Northern Ireland, following a long-awaited pay modernisation package, which was reached in partnership between Napo, NIPSA and PBNI. A deal that offers much-needed stability to the PBNI staff group, and one that wouldn't have been possible without a tremendous work of Fiona Vaughan, Jennifer White and the Napo branch executive. Conference, please show your appreciation for their efforts. The early signs from our engagement with government have been promising in terms of the immediate and long-term future of probation. Let's hope we can build on it. Our direct representations to Lord Chancellor Shabana Mahmood, just a week after the general election, secured new money for a substantial number of Napo members in bringing forward the October element of the multi-year pay deal. But I'm not going to stand here and say that was enough or good enough. It wasn't, but it's the best we could secure. And it was a good deal more than any Tory minister gave us, I have to tell you. So we now need to push on. And our clear message is that probation needs a rescue package and it needs it fast. And thanks to Phil Coppell for joining us today and picking up questions from the floor. I thought it was useful to do so. One I would have asked him, but I wanted you to have a go first, is why have we got one HMPPS and why have we then got 4 sets of pay terms and conditions operating within it? And I told you what they were earlier on. It's time to pay HMPPS staff fairly based on their real worth compared to external competitors. And if that's not possible, then surely it's time to move probation back into trust status in our communities and allow us to negotiate a pay structure that will encourage new recruits and retain experienced staff. And let's not forget our commitment to see probation in Wales devolve to the government of that nation, a long-running campaign from our brothers and sisters in Napo Cymru, and we will do everything we can working with you to keep that top of the agenda. So conference is loads to do, and we look to this government to listen and act, and that means a decent spending review allocation to fund a new pay deal in probation, while we push them to announce the promised review of the service and to move quickly to get it underway. And not forgetting the vital work of our members in CAFCAS, which also means a new approach must be applied to problems of uncompetitive pay. And as one of the motions for debate later at AGM spells out, that nobody should be expected to work for free. It's that straightforward. Speaking of regeneration and new ideas, Napo is also well into our own transformation programme for your union. And here among us, as we've seen, and back in your branches are new, young members. Napo, with respect to those of you who've been around longer, but I know you know where I'm coming from. You're going to help steer us through the deep, uncharted, and no doubt stormy waters ahead. That will be your responsibility as we move from this era to the next. Goodness knows, I've been so enthused to see so many first-time visitors to this AGM. It's given me a surge of adrenaline that I can't actually describe. In my view, this is a pivotal AGM in the history of this great union. It's a watershed moment where I can actually see it here, the intersectionality between long-standing members and new members coming through, and how you're bouncing off one another, and the contributions from you. It's incredible, and I hope this is something we're going to see going forward in years to come. Goodness knows there's enough out there to be depressed about, but I just want to finish with some plus points about Napo to take away with you, back to your offices, back to those members who might not be interested in joining a trade union. Our membership is rising steadily, but more needs to be done. Pick up your recruitment packs, because let me tell you, over the last year, Anushka's been hardly able to get them out of the door, such as the demand. That has resulted in £34,000 extra subscription income in the last set of accounts. And of course, 34k may not seem big beer compared to other unions, but it's vital for us. And all the portents are that we're well on course to do even better this year, but we won't be able to tell you about that till next year. So appreciation to Anushka and all of you in the branches, our loyal activists, for keeping up that campaign and helping with that. It just shows that what can be done. So we've come out the right side of the annual accounts, and we'll hopefully do so again. Far cry from the £500,000 deficit that I had to talk about some years ago. And that's due to brilliant management of our money by Teresa Borman and by us sticking to an operational plan that has seen us build on new ways of working, engaging with employers on a regular basis, something like 20, 30 engagements a week on average, with employers on a whole range of issues. No longer do we spend huge sums of members' money shipping people down to London several days a week. We use technology to our benefit. And that technology, let me tell you, has resulted in us engaging with more members in their workplaces than ever before in our history. Branches such as West Yorkshire, 150 members at one of your AGMs that just spoke at, and another branch, upwards of 100. It shows what is possible. And I know there'll be a debate down the track about improving our communications and interface, and we welcome all those ideas. So we got things we can do. Because we listen to what our loyal activists are saying, we have factored in significant increases in our grant system to branches for next year. Next year, we want to help you encourage even more new members to join up and encourage even more people to come to AGM 2025. So please make good use of that money and work with us to make it count. Our communications team surpasses itself with our top quality Napo online magazine. And we've invested in training products and new IT software to help modernise our approach going forward. One of the things you could do is see Tay Burke on the way out and give you reflections of AGM, so we can get that out on social media to a wider audience. So we want to do more to maximise how we promote our members' interests. In terms of our media engagement, well, since I became General Secretary, our work has surpassed that of our previous very impressive track record. And it is a fact, there are few current TUC General Secretaries, save for those involved in recent high-profile industrial disputes, that have featured in the media more than yours truly in recent years. It's not about me, it's about our approach to communications and how we've made the issues that count get before the public. And all that before the recent TUC coverage that Tanya had mentioned earlier over SDS 40 and ECSL before it. Our reps training programme in partnership with sister union Aegis and the GFTU goes from strength to strength, a clear sign that many of our members want to take the next step in representing their colleagues. And to them, I simply say, thank you so much, because you will be the lifeblood of this union in years to come. Another notable result was that despite the disappointment of not being able to launch a new ICT database, which we've mentioned at conference before, through no fault of our own, we secured every penny of members' money that we paid across for that project and some compensation on top. That search for a modernised ICT system continues and will regularly report progress, as you'd expect, to the NEC. Well, look, there's a lot more I could speak about, but I'm conscious of the loss of time. So I'll leave you with this. I've touched upon a number of issues today. Some of them may be possible to achieve in the short term, but some will require my successor and those new emerging leaders I've mentioned in Napo to come forward and pick up the battle ensign. Possibly much to the disappointment of some here, I'm not about to make a statement on my retirement, other than to say, not yet. And I'm looking above that chandelier, so it's shaking a little bit. Not yet, because there's still work to do. Not yet, because that work still incentivizes me to wake up every day and think, how can I, in partnership with yourselves and your leadership group, help make a difference to the lives of our members and help make a difference to the lives of the wider trade union movement through my work in the TUC and the GFTU. Yet a day will come when I will be but a distant memory. Such is life. Although, because we record conference, I'll be on a digital footprint for time immemorial. That's good. As you will be. But I don't have time to dwell on it now. Because my final message to you all, the remainder of this AGM, is to pull together for your union. Its values, its commitment to your professions, its zero tolerance to racism and discrimination and oppression in all its forms, and our joint overriding objective to help bring about the reforms that are so desperately needed to create a modern criminal and family justice system that Britain can be proud of. Thank you, conference. What great people you are.